Welcome to the High Voltage Light Electric Vehicle channel. For this video I want to show you guys the ELEEK light frame. This one is actually the fat version of the frame with the swing arm here accommodating a full-size 26-inch Fatbike wheel. We also have a new mid-drive system that we're working on to debut with this build. But for this video I'm going to go over all the parts that you get here and talk about why it might just be the best frame for an electric Fatbike build using the BBSHD or maybe even the BBSO2, because electric Fatbikes make some of the best e-bikes to ride, but they can be tricky to build with this motor because of chainline issues, and I think this frame is going to make it really easy. Before I start on the frame, we wanted to help humanitarian efforts in Ukraine by building and auctioning some bikes. And we were actually donated this complete bike, so figured we'd start with this one. And there'll be more at the end of the video on this. So the light frame set here cost me $502 US delivered, which for what you get, I think is pretty remarkable value for money, especially considering what it's going to enable you to do with a bike. The swing arm here has been sized specifically to fit a full Fatbike tyre like the ones I have on my bike here. The dropouts on this are the horizontal type. You also get a derailleur hanger for tensioning, and there are several points on the other side for the attachment of rear brakes, plus the usual cable tidies. And down at the front here you have options to put a mudguard in that runs all the way down the middle, and you also have the bottom bracket and the swing arm point, and actually 3 adjustment points for your rear shock. It also fits really nicely with the BBSHD, so I'll pop that on and you can see what that looks like. So this is the 100mm version of the BBSHD, or the M65 in this case, and you can see it goes all the way through the bottom bracket here, and it goes right up to the edge where the tube has actually been shaped here to allow for motors and chain rings to fit in. So it leaves just the right amount of threads on the other side. It fits it absolutely perfectly. If you look at it from this angle, you can see that it sits very centrally, and you should have a really nice chain line to the back of the bike. Alright, so that's the swing arm. We'll have a look at the body, which houses your battery. So this is the part of the frame that you would put your battery in and any wiring. There's the usual cutouts here that you can bring wiring through to the front, and it pivots the swing arm at the back here. Underneath there are various bolts that hold on this plate, so I'll take this plate off and we can see the kind of room that you've got inside to put a battery. So inside you actually get a decent amount of space to build a battery pack and put in this. It's not going to be as much as one of the Enduro frames, but there's still a lot of space in here to fit a lot of cells, and it'll be fun to make some models of this space and see how many of the different types of cells we can get in here. So whether we make it with a moly cell, or maybe try doing something with the pouch cells and see just how much capacity can be squeezed into this space. There's also the option to build a new version of this bottom plate potentially, and extend the battery out to create more capacity if that's what is required by the build. But there's a lot of flexibility with it, and it's a very solid structure here, although it's not actually that heavy. So light by name, light by nature, especially for a steel frame like this. But it is very solid, and whatever battery you put inside this is going to be very well protected from any kind of penetrations or damage. and it should be very easy to seal it up and make sure that it's not exposed to the elements either, which is excellent. If I flip it around to this side, you have various bolt points here for both the shock, and this is the shock mount here. So you actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5. There's a lot of different positions here to fit a huge range of different shock lengths and sizes, depending on what you want. The seat structure also bolts on here. There's quite a lot of space within this structure as well that wouldn't be used by the shock, so there's room to put electronics in there, there's room to maybe put a toolkit in there. There are all sorts of things that I could see this space being used for, which is pretty neat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry fit all these parts together, and then you can see what the frame looks like, and you can see what it'll look like with the BBSHD in, because the ground clearance you'll get with this motor is really quite good. So if we look at this frame, now everything's been dry fitted into place, you can see that the ground clearance on this is going to be pretty impressive. Right, the BBSHD fits really nicely into this whole section here, like it fits perfectly. And then with the 42T ELEEK on top as well, it fits really smoothly. Like, there's no tight parts, you know, where you can pick up debris. It's just a really nice fit, and it's going to give a really good chain line to the back of the bike with this. So you could use gears if you wanted to just run like a stock BBSHD or BBSO2 setup, or you could do a more high-powered 1-to-1 ratio and just tension it straight to the back without needing to use a derailleur at all. You can't get this kind of ground clearance on like the vast majority of hardtail BBSHD builds, and then take into consideration that this is a full suspension build, and you're getting the frame for a very good price. I mean, $500, where are you going to find a full suspension frame for $500? Especially one that has, you know, big space for the battery and so much flexibility in terms of what shock you could use there. I'm going to get the measure out and see what kind of distance that is. So just throwing in a rough measure there, you've got 240 millimeters there of shock travel, or not shock travel. You could put a 240 millimeter shock in there if you wanted to. There's plenty of room for it to function. You could use a 200 mil shock, and you could just move the shock mounting point further back down on this track, and there's a lot of options, and that would let you adjust the steering angle to be pretty much whatever you want. So it's a really versatile frame, and I'm going to very much enjoy building a fat bike with this, with a brand new mid-drive system. But if you do have a BBSHD and you're looking for a full suspension fat bike, I don't find any other options around that would be better than this. I mean, if you think how much it would cost you to buy, say, like a Bike Tricks one, you know, you're looking, you know, over $5,000 for a fully sort of tricked out one, and the frame isn't as good or as versatile as this one in terms of the kind of battery that you could run with it. So yeah, lots more in this build, and we'll see the different parts that I'll be using to fit this out. I'm not sure whether I want to use the 20-inch fat bike tires at the back and some moto tires, or do the full size 26, but lots more on this bike. I said at the start of the video that we are doing an auction to raise money for humanitarian efforts in Ukraine. This is the bike that we currently have up for grabs. It's a Cheetah Cafe Racer. This bike normally retails for about $2,600, so we figured we'd make bids a minimum of $1,500. The bike will get you everything you need to ride. It's not the most powerful in the world, but it is a comfortable ride, and for not a huge outlay will save you money at the gas pump right away. As far as I'm aware, this bike is fully legal anywhere in North America. If you're interested, you can use the link in the description to get to our website. We're offering up first to people within our community on this channel and Discord, and the end date for bids will be the 30th of June 2022. Thanks for watching the High Voltage channel. Cheers.